The Force of Others, a Star Wars podcast.
Hello there, and welcome to The Force of Others. I'm Matt Boitner.
I'm Zachary Owen Turner, and today we have a huge episode for you all about Dark Force Rising, the second book in the Heir to the Empire trilogy. If you don't know, this came out in the mid-90s. It was, for Star Wars fans, the only Star Wars that you could get for a little bit. And this book is the second in the trilogy of 3. We're going to talk about it, our likes, our dislikes, what we think they might use in Ahsoka Season 2, and all of that, all things Dark Force Rising. But before we get to all that, we're jumping right into the mailbag with a question from Brian Lawson, a question that we might have answered before, but now Matt has gotten a little bit more into costumes and cosplays, so we're going to get a new answer, and I have some new thoughts as well. But Brian Lawson asks, what is your dream Star Wars cosplay?
Kind of very much inspired by the Ahmed Best Jedi robes that he wore on Mandalorian for Keller and Beck. He got Afro-futurist symbols engraved in the lapels, or stitched into the lapels, and I didn't know what that was, but I was like, oh, that's cool. He got the art of his culture put onto his Jedi robes, so I want to do the same thing. I want blue and white Jedi robes with the Celtic knot on the lapel, and I'll be a little leprechaun Jedi. Because in case you don't know, listeners, I'm quite small. But Zach, what about you?
Photos from Rebel ScumCon.
I was going to say, from Rebel ScumCon. Yeah.
For me, I think last time I said I would like a Wookiee costume, but upon second thought, I don't want to sweat all day long. So I have a few ideas that I want to do. One that is probably definitely going to happen, and some others that are dreams. I would love to do a Blue Leader-esque blue pilot, rebel pilot, just because it's slightly different. You know, the orange jumpsuit is iconic, but I like a little variation. But the one I think I'm actually going to do, and that I have found files for 3D printing, is I want to do Kanan Jarrus blind mask Jedi.
Cool.
I got the beard, I got the hair. Easy, right?
Hey, I mean, another one I'd like to do, the Ezra from Ahsoka, when he's like a exile Ezra.
Yeah.
Where it's like the red robes and it's all very ramshackle and stuff. I would love to do that. Yeah. So we could do like an alternate universe Kanan didn't die thing. That might be fun.
Yeah.
Or we could be rebel pilots.
Or we do I'm Kanan, but then I just find that mesh blue over. You know, have you seen the Force Ghost cosplays that they do?
Hey, I mean, you want to talk about, that's basically, you're doing a Wookiee thing again, dog. You're wearing a blanket, walking around the con floor.
But it's mesh.
But
you can see
it's
through
mesh.
it.
But there you go. If you got questions, we got answers. Send your questions to forceofothersradio@gmail.com or put them in the comments below. But, Zach, it's been 2 weeks since we've had an episode. Because real quick, I'll mention, Zach had, I forget why you couldn't, Zach had a crazy week and we weren't able to record. And then I was going to get in here with Jason Crispin. All of his art is behind me that I got at a Rebel ScumCon this last year. But we'll have him on eventually. But due to wild technical difficulties, I had to cancel that interview. We're going to have him eventually. But Zach, how have your last 2 weeks been in real life? And how have your last 2 Star Wars weeks been?
Yeah, it's been good. Last week was super busy. Just I overbooked myself, and but we got everything done, which is great. It's been good, but I've had a really cool 2 weeks acting wise, because I can finally talk about things. I did a video game this year. It's called Pioneer, Pioneer. It is in active beta testing, which on Steam, I think the beta test just ended. So if you're listening and you're like, oh, I didn't get it, I apologize. But it will be out again. So I've been watching people play streams because my computer can't handle the game, and just trying to listen for my voice, which I have found a couple of times, which has been pretty cool.
Nice.
I've also been trying to bait some of the streamers, because I know who my main character is, and I can't find anyone who went to my main character. I teach you how to play the card game in the game, and
cool.
And nobody went to that area, so I've been like, hey, you guys should go over there. I hear it's really cool. I'll definitely watch. If you are a video game streamer or somebody who plays video games and you do have access to the beta test, go play the card game. I want to see it. Send me a video. But the other cool thing is I got tagged this week on Instagram because I am back again for Yu-Gi-Oh! Go Rush. Episode 35 comes out this week, which I am returning as my character. I was Lionel Alec in Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s. This time I'm just Alec because it's an alternate universe version. And I am on a little TV screen talking about aliens. So if you watch Yu-Gi-Oh! Or have access to, I think it's Disney DX.
XD, I think.
XD. And then it will also be on Hulu in a couple of weeks. But yeah, so I got a really cool acting week. But as far as how Star Wars found me this week and last week, if you will remember from our time at Rebel Scum Con, I am a huge Sabacc fan, specifically Kessel Sabacc. And there is a new app called the HoloCard Cantina app, and it has Kessel Sabacc, and I have been playing it like a fiend all week, and learning some of the rules that I didn't realize. Because when you play it on Outlaws, you're like, okay, cool, like I lose chips. But now I know why you lose chips and the math behind why you lose chips. Which when I was playing at Rebel ScumCon, I was like, why am I losing so many chips? Because you're not really playing against other people. You're mainly playing against yourself while trying to beat the other people. So... if you want me to go deeper into Kessel Sabacc, we can do that at another time. But the other ways that it has found me is we have gotten some news that has come out. Sean Levi has talked about Star Wars Starfighter. He was talking to Collider, and he said, quote, well, for one thing, it is different in that it is all new, non-sequel, non-prequel adventure. It's new characters, it's a new timeline, it inherits legacy themes, but it's really trying to give Star Wars fans and just movie audiences something fresh, something new, and with the spirit of play and big-hearted adventure with moments of real levity that, frankly, A New Hope had in a revolutionary way. He continued to say, we're really trying to sort of take the tone of as a North Star every day. My crew, my DP, everybody is collaborating on it, but he also says it's a surreal and awesome every day walking onto a set to have made up a new and original Star Wars story that is neither a sequel nor a prequel or anything. I have a deep respect and love for the historic legacy, but a chance to do something fresh and original, and to do it with Jonathan Tropper, the writer of The Adam Project, and with Gosling. Every day it's hard as hell, but it's a dream come true territory every day. And that's some positive things.
Yeah.
A little over the head with it's not a sequel, it's not a prequel. But he seems like he's having a good time. Everything that we see from that set seems fun. And then in other movie news, we also got an interview with Jon Favreau about The Mandalorian and Grogu with, I believe this was Empire. He said, The Mandalorian has changed his priorities. One of the last things we say in Season 3 is like, I don't want to go out there and just be a hired gun. I want to work for the good guys. He also talks about Zeb Orrelios being on the screen. He says, now we get to really have fun with him. He's such a compelling character, even if you've never seen Rebels, between the voice, the swagger, and the physical ability. The central relationship, as to continue about Mando and Grogu, he says, the central relationship that they go off and face adventure together, that's the underpinning of the film. Star Wars is always about progression and growth and character evolving, sometimes for good, sometimes for the bad. It's about apprenticeship. It's about one generation teaching the next. There's more growth that happens over the course of the film. So it's not about families anymore, Matt. It's about apprenticeship.
Same thing. Yeah. It's the exact same thing. You know what I'm saying? But which is cool, but it's the same thing.
Yeah, but that's how Star Wars found me, and I hope you enjoyed the news, listener. Matt, how did Star Wars found you, and how was your weeks?
Well, as for my weeks, I've been a busy little man. We closed Young Frankenstein. As just a little bit of a background on me and that show. Obviously, I work at the best community theater you've never heard of. We are a community theater that functions basically as a professional theater. But we are still a community thing, right? But still, the opportunity to play out scenes from a movie that I watched as a kid is so fun. If you haven't seen Young Frankenstein, go watch that movie. Put the candle back and stuff. And getting to live that out for the second time, because I've played this role before, is just so fun. And getting to do it with some of my best friends in the world. The way this musical ends, because if you don't know, Young Frankenstein was a Mel Brooks written and directed movie that then he turned into a musical like almost 30 years later. It came out 20 years ago, right? It ends with everybody has bowed, and then we sing together again till the next time. We're mighty glad that you came, right? It's just, and I'm standing there on stage next to a friend of the podcast, Brian Lawson, who I have played the other Mel Brooks musical role with, the other Gene Wilder role. We were the producers in The Producers 5 years ago, show that got cut short due to COVID. And then on the other side of Brian is Colton Lively, who he was the other person that was in Young Frankenstein last time. He was Igor, and he was another major character in The Producers when we did it at this theater company. We've kind of deemed ourselves the Mel Brooksmen of the Granbury Theater Company. Producers is probably going to come back sometime in the next couple years, and I will fight all these young people to get to play Leo Bloom again. But I just kind of took a moment outside myself and just really just enjoyed getting to stand next to Brian and Colton singing together again till the next time. It sounds silly, but also, as closing weekend began, and this was 2 weekends ago now, Brian kind of looked at me and goes, "It's nice to get to close a show with you, man." And what he was talking about was The Producers in 2020 got cut short. Those of you that remember your history, we had to cut that show short before our closing weekend. This was in March of 2020 because it all started. All of COVID began. And it was actually on the next show that we were going to do that Friday night was my 31st birthday. And I was like, oh, this is really sad. Not that I make it all about me, but it was just, he said that and I was like, oh, right. We haven't been in a show together since that. So it was really, really fun, and take advantage of the moments as they come, kids. So I was able to step outside myself and just kind of appreciate that. As for other life stuff, I am a Christmas man, and Christmas hype is hyping for me. I am stoked about some Christmas. Love me the holidays, love me some winter. Texas is doing, for whatever reason, we are hitting stupid record high temperatures right now, because God is asleep at the wheel, apparently. And it's like 80 degrees for the last couple days, but would love for that to stop. But anyway, Christmas is coming, and I can't wait. And as for other work stuff, we're rehearsing Christmas Carol and Matilda right now, and I'm working on my Shakespeare adaptation for the spring for my teenagers, and you'll know what that show is soon. But so lots of real-life stuff happening. As for Star Wars stuff, the first way it found me was a weird name drop / face drop from a friend. So I sent Zach a picture, but I got a text from my buddy Sam Bullington Saturday night. And out of nowhere, I haven't heard from Sam in years. He lives out in LA and he's doing the actor thing. And he texted me and goes, "Hey, do you watch Star Wars Rebels?" Because the thing about being the Star Wars guy that all your friends know is whenever anything Star Wars happens to them, they text you, even if you haven't texted in years. And I was like, "Yeah, I do." And he goes, "Because Taylor Gray is at my house." And I said, "What?" And he proceeds to send me a picture of him and Taylor Gray kicking it at this little house party. And I was like, what is this? This is ridiculous, you turd. Like, and then he just texts me, says, "Taylor Gray says hi and thanks for watching." Aww. So Taylor, and if you don't know, Taylor Gray is the voice of Ezra Bridger on Star Wars Rebels. So Taylor, I know you're not watching this, but if you are, hi. Come on the show. That would be dope. But yeah, Sam didn't say much of anything else.
Rebel ScumCon, we just
didn't make our way over there. He was busy and he always had people. But you know, yeah. So wild. The world is tiny, right? Small world theory proves itself again. But as for kind of the news ways that Star Wars found me, I'm going to start with some good news before I go to some bad news. But we have an opening date for the George Lucas Museum of Narrative Art.
Yeah.
September 22nd, 2026. It will open in LA. There are over 30 art galleries, one of which will be Star Wars. We talked about that to death a couple weeks ago. But I can't wait. I'm not necessarily a fan of museums, and I'm a fan of narrative art. And George has talked many times leading up to this about how his mission is to elevate pop art, right? This is going to be comic book art. This is going to be popular culture art. There will still be more kind of highbrow art elements, but this is a home for George Lucas's art collection, which is apparently huge. I can't wait. Now, one way or another, I've said this before, this is a museum that's going to be in LA. I am going to LA in April of 2027, for sure, for Star Wars Celebration, for the 50th anniversary of this Star Wars thing that we love so much. Whether or not I can justify a trip in late 2026 to go to this museum as well as 2027, we will see, but we gonna try. I'll let you know when we get there. I don't think I'll be there for opening day because I'm sure that'll be a madhouse, but we're gonna try. But as for some bad news, Star Wars Insider has announced that it is closing down. I only have one issue still in my possession. This is the launch issue for Star Wars Rebels. It was kind of all about the Rebels. Bought this at Empire Strikes Comics in Oklahoma City, circa 2014. Shout out. But I just want to give a moment to talk about Star Wars Insider. This is a magazine that has ran for 30 years. I don't think they're closing down because of their quality dropping. I think it's just, as we know, print media is going away, right? But I want it in people's minds. Going back to the early 2000s and the late 90s, leading into the prequels, there was really only two sources of Star Wars information. This is pre-social media. There was StarWars.com and there was Star Wars Insider. If you really want to get into it, there was also the Force.net and RebelScum.com. But really, it was all about Star Wars Insider. I still remember vividly in 4th grade getting the issue of Star Wars Insider that revealed the look of Darth Maul on the cover. I still remember vividly interviews with Jake Lloyd and Ewan McGregor and behind-the-scenes stories from the sets of the prequels. I remember all of those things. None of that would have happened without Star Wars Insider. Probably the biggest thing was that I went to the first Star Wars celebration in 1999 in Denver, Colorado with my dad. I don't know that I would have known about Star Wars Celebration if it wasn't for Star Wars Insider. So it's easier to be a fan of this stuff than at any other time before, ever. But give some credit to Star Wars Insider. Pick up these last couple issues that are going to come out next year. And as for some other just easier news, not about new openings or new cancellations, we got some quotes from some Star Wars creatives. First one, not about anything that's coming out soon. Rian Johnson on the press tour for Wake Up Dead Man, the Knives Out, the third entrance in that franchise. Somebody asked him if negative fan reaction to The Last Jedi kept him from coming back. This is at the Newport Beach Film Festival, and he said, "Well, I was in college when the prequels came out. So are you kidding me? The prequel wars? We had a few. And so, the notion that Star Wars has been this kind of Shangri-La united fandom and that nothing could split that apart is false. The reality is Star Wars has always been something that has meant different things to different people, and I think that's part of the fun and the passion of it as fans, is arguing about it respectfully. It's the respectful part that's the key, and that I don't think happens very often. But I just thought it was funny that kind of the patron saint of, I guess, Star Wars division since 2017, love The Last Jedi or hate The Last Jedi, he's going, reminding everybody of what we kind of talk about all the time on this show. Like, guys, people not liking a new Star Wars trilogy is not a new thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, worth bringing that up. But then
I think he's mentioned that before, too. I think he's talked about it a couple of times, but...
And I'm not trying to say, like... I don't want people to take that and say that, like, you're siding with Rian Johnson and not Star Wars fans. It's like, no, I'm siding with creatives and acknowledging that prequel hate was more prevalent than sequel hate. When quoted about whether or not he was going to make Star Wars Episode 7 in 2011 while promoting Red Tails, George said, "Why would I do that? Why would I make more Star Wars movies so the whole internet could tell me what a bad person I am and what a bad job I did? There is no Episode 7. Hilarious that a little over a year later, he sold it to Disney with the intention of making Episode 7.
Yeah.
But neither here nor there. I think that comes back to Clone Wars took off and started to do really well, and he went, maybe Star Wars is fun. Maybe I will come back. Who cares what they say? Mm-hmm. But last piece of Star Wars news. Sigourney Weaver talking about Mandalorian and Grogu, I think with that same sit-down with Empire Magazine that Favreau did. I'm not sure. But she says Lucasfilm is no longer trying to make the Star Wars to end all Star Wars. Direct quote, they're letting the universe exist and telling really interesting stories within that. What I get out of that is the same thing that Sean Levi is saying. They're not trying to make this big universe-altering story, right? They're not necessarily trying to make big swings. They're trying to tell fun stories in a universe that already exists, right? So let's take the pressure off. Let's have a good time. There will be people that will think and then will say when Mando and Grogu comes out, when Starfighter comes out, that Star Wars has gotten lazy and that Star Wars isn't being risky anymore, to which I will say, guys, they made The Last Jedi and you hated it. So, like, pick one.
Yeah. Right?
Do you want safe? And they made The Acolyte and you hated it. So do you want a new interpretation or do you want safe Star Wars?
¿Por qué no los dos?
I'm saying. Yeah. But so, yeah, exactly. But I'm still excited about both these movies because I think they're going to be a good time. And I think it's interesting, both those quotes, Sean Levi and Sigourney Weaver, and especially the Sean Levi one, he's talking about how we're trying to recapture, or we're using A New Hope as kind of our North Star. Yeah. Same thing they did with Force Awakens.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing they did. Right?
Except they said, let me copy your homework, A New Hope, and...
yeah. Hey, still love me some Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Me personally, it's my favorite Disney Star Wars movie. But okay, moving into the actual headline of the episode, Dark Force Rising, the second novel of the Timothy Zahn Thrawn trilogy, or Thrawn Trilogy, as Zach called it last episode, because it's a thrilling set of novels. This came out in May 1992. So I was 3, and I think Zach was born.
Not even.
So there we go. This book is older than Zach.
May of 1992. I wasn't. Nope. Yeah. Not even nothing. I was nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. So quick little recap. Again, this era is 5 years after the original trilogy. Recapping this novel before we dive into all of it. Following up on the events of Heir to the Empire, Luke seeks out Jorus Sabaoth to continue his Jedi training and is rescued by Mara Jade once Sabaoth says he won't join him. Leia travels to the home planet of the Noghri to try and turn Thrawn's race of assassins to the New Republic side, and Han and Lando stumble across a lost fleet of dreadnought battleships, the Katana Fleet, aka the Dark Force, and an old rebel leader. It all culminates in a battle for the fleet where Thrawn's forces escape with many of the dreadnoughts, and Han and Luke discover how Thrawn has so many soldiers so quickly. They're clones. Mm-hmm. Oh, and before we say anything else, I forgot. Whenever we review Legends things, we got to remember the wise words of Ahsoka Tano.
There's always a bit of truth in Legends.
Zach, opening thoughts for Dark Force Rising.
Empire Strikes Back is the greatest sequel of all time. Dark Force Rising is a very good sequel, but it has some it falls into the pitfalls of a middle story. I really liked it. I really like this trilogy. But it has some things that I'm like, okay, cool. Where are we getting to? Cool. We're getting there. And I think the next book is probably going to be amazing. This one does a lot of legwork that you need to have to pay off. Everything that I think we're going to get in the third book, but it's a lot of legwork. It is still super fun, super exciting. There's still really high stakes, which is really nice. The second half of this book is awesome. Like the third act. The third act is just like, we're moving, everything's culminating, everything's coming together. But overall, I liked it. It's not my favorite. Like I liked it less than the first one, but I am really excited to see where it goes in the next one.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah. Very similar things. I kind of called it Discussions the Novel. There are cool moments that happen in it, but this one is kind of a slog for me. It is reminiscent of The Last Jedi for me in a way, where kind of like you talked about with like sequels, where this doesn't really have a lot of forward motion. This has some cool moments, but it's a lot of characters going, well, I have this thought process or this perspective, and I have this one, and we're going to debate. And that's kind of what happens for chapters upon chapters at a time, which is cool. There's a cool story that happens. It just doesn't really move. It doesn't get on with it. Yeah. But moving into our biggest likes, I do have a lot, even though I might have started kind of lukewarm there. Zach, let's ping pong back and forth.
Yeah.
First biggest like from Dark Force Rising.
I love that Thrawn is too smart for his own good in this one. In modern canon, we get a lot of like, he's like, oh yes, I will. It's okay. We will figure it out. In this one, he is overestimating his enemy often, specifically with the Millennium Falcon and Ekbar and Endor and all of that. You know, he's like, basically, Leia goes to Endor with the Falcon to then go to the Nogri planet. Thrawn doesn't see that happen, and he doesn't even think that it could happen. Instead, he's like, no, they have a bigger plot. They're doing this, this, and this because that's what I would do. And so he's overestimating his enemy. He's too smart for his own good, which I thought was really fun.
Right on. Yeah. I didn't think about it that way. Good call. My first big like, and I do have a clip from the novel, narrated by Mark Thompson, because he's the GOAT, is something that Han says. This is early in the novel. This is in chapter 4. It's where he has found out that Leia, while pregnant with their kids, that they know the bad guys are chasing, that they want, Leia is going to go on this mission to the homeworld of the assassins that are chasing them, because she thinks she's going to be able to turn them to the New Republic side. And it's just what I love about it is it's really beautiful writing of a normal person that is in love with a Jedi and that is in love with a major politician, that he has to do what really in the wider scheme of Star Wars, he has to do what Anakin couldn't, and he has to trust her and let her go and just believe that it's going to be okay. And now I'm going to play this clip.
That no matter how much he tried, he would never be able to totally protect her from the dangers and risks of the universe. Because no matter how much he might love her, no matter how much he might give of himself to her, she could never be content with that alone. Her vision extended beyond him, just as it extended beyond herself, to all the beings of the galaxy. And to take that away from her, whether by force or even by persuasion, would be to diminish her soul.
It's that last sentence that to me is just haunting.
Yeah.
To take that away from her would be to diminish her soul. That's wild. That is fantastic writing. And yeah, it's just like, you don't really see it very often in a genre story. Well, I guess you see that story beat often in genre storytelling. How does the normal person that is in love with a superpowered being cope with that? Right? Yeah. But I just thought that was a really, really wonderful way to write that. And it's a level of maturity that Han does not have in the original trilogy at all. Could you tell, Luke? Is that how you could tell? Yeah. You know, sorry. But just for him to go, okay, I've got to who's scruffy looking? I've got to trust her. I've got to let her go. It's so good. It's good stuff. Zach, next big like.
Yeah, I really liked the whole relationship with. Well, I really liked Mara Jade in this novel. I thought she kind of comes through as a character and shines. Where in the last one, she kind of was in a backseat role. I feel like she is actively driving the story in this one, which is really exciting. I love her whole like turning herself into Thrawn and proving that she is the Hand and is who she says she is. And Thrawn being like, oh, I know more than you. And she's like, I'm the Emperor's Hand. What are you talking about? You don't know more than me. I'm his like apprentice. And he's like, oh yeah, he had many hands. And it's this like mind game that they're playing back and forth of like, and you know Thrawn's playing the game, but you're also like, wait, but is he right? Which is what she's thinking as well, and just that whole sequence of her being like, I can use my empire like connections to like try and save my newfound family, but at the same time slowly being pulled back in but rejecting it. It's just a very, very complex sequence of like emotions and all that, and you're like, man, this is just good. So
yeah, 100%. Yeah, I love the implication that's like, dude, you weren't the only one of Palpatine's like, chosen minions or whatever. There were others.
Yeah, it's very Inquisitors, for modern
exactly.
canon.
Yeah, I would love for Emperor's hands to be canon again.
Yeah,
that would be really cool. Vader has the Inquisitors, and Palpatine has even another level of kind of shadow operatives. To me, I think it would be great. Speaking of the Emperor, my next big like, Leia passing out as the Falcon passes through the exact position of Palpatine's death, just because of that kind of like scar that he left in the Force. Yeah. Fantastic. That's so cool. A moment they kind of like, or they did a similar thing in Shattered Empire, one of the first comics to come out in modern canon. Leia goes to Naboo, and as she walks through the doorway into the hangar from Episode 1, she passes through the same era where Darth Maul was when he does the activate double lightsabers from the trailer, and I feel cold, and you see just kind of the image of Maul.
Yeah.
Anyway, cool moments, but Zach, next big like.
That's, cool writing. I really liked the Nogri planet and how fleshed out of a society they were, and how different from other Star Wars societies that we've seen. There's it's a matriarchal society. It's very village based. It's very for this like species that are like ultimate killers and ultimate warriors, to see like familial relations and like just like the care and like kind of flipping it on its head a little bit, like she's like, oh yeah, this is my third son, my grandson, and like all of that, and just like the care that they care for each other, and that care being what ends up bringing them on to the Republic side of being like, hey, they've been lying to you this whole time, they've been poisoning your food, and just the whole sequence I thought was really, really fun.
Right on. Yeah.
Oh,
100%.
And the callback to the Clone Wars there, and being like, wait, no, this didn't happen during the War for the Empire. This happened way back then,
And the specific timeline they mention is something I'm going to get into later.
Yeah.
But next big one for me, just the concept of a ship thief, right? This Niles Ferrier character, just that is very pulpy Star Wars to me. This master ship thief that like Han and Lando know, and as soon as they realize it's him, they're like, crap. He's the best. Like, he's stolen stuff from us before.
I love that it's all around the cigar too. It's like, oh, I smell his crappy cigars he smells.
I'll jump ahead. I think that part's ridiculous. I'll get into it more later. But that Lando can smell a specific type of tobacco that, like, there's only one man in the whole galaxy that uses that tobacco. And it's like, that's insane. Anyway, I'll get into that later. Keeping it positive. Member of Niles Ferrier's crew, this Wraith, a.k.a. a Defil, which is kind of, it's not the Shistovanian Wolfman, it's the other Wolfman from the Cantina. And they kind of took some, I talked about in our Heir to the Empire episode how Lucasfilm sent the box set of the original Star Wars role-playing game, which had just come out before these novels came out, and they told Timothy Zahn, make your novels work with this, in an early effort to try and make the EU kind of consistent. And one of the pieces of lore in that RPG box set was that the Defels are more or less invisible. That like light, they aren't seen well, which is really just lore they took from that they lit that alien really, really darkly in the cantina to hide that it was another person in a Wolfman mask. And the RPG was like, ooh, maybe they're kind of invisible. And it's like, all right. It's cool, but, it's like, it's fun, but it just makes me laugh. It's like, this just because they tried to light it low so that you couldn't tell it was another Wolfman. But, anywho, next one.
Yeah, I really like the exploration of Lando and Han's friendship in this. It's something that they get to take time with it because it is a novel that we don't get in the original trilogy, and they are like buddies, like they're written as best friends, you know, and just like they're like, oh cool, I'm gonna go do this so you can do this, and then we can do that, you know, like there's like all these little moments of just like, oh, I'm gonna distract him here because I know Lando can go and look at that piece of art, and just the interplay that they have, I really enjoy in this book.
Right on. Yeah, and they don't really get to go on a lot of missions a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Especially at this point in canon. So to get to see them actually cooperating.
There is one
fun.
canon book where they do, where they're
Yes.
older and do, which is really fun as well. But I feel like this is different even than that.
Oh, yeah. I think you're talking about Last Shot.
Yes.
But especially at this point in the EU, they hadn't really, cooperated very much.
Yeah.
But similar thing. I just loved the sequence of Lando, Han, and Luke escaping the hangar, using their remote control beckon call devices for their ships. It's just very classic Star Wars.
Yeah.
Remote controlling the ship over to them and blasting stormtroopers as they barely escape a hangar.
Mm-hmm.
So I complained in my kind of opening about how this novel is it's a slow burn, but when it hits, it does have some really cool spectacle moments.
Yeah.
But yeah, next one to you.
I really like. So I really disliked Sabaoth in the first book. In this one, it kind of comes around for me,
Okay.
because Luke is instantly like, "What?" Like everything that Sabaoth says to him, Luke is instantly kind of suspicious of. He's like, "That's not what I was taught by Jedi Master Yoda and Jedi, and like all the Jedi that I know. But you're an actual Jedi." I love that he's like instantly kind of just very suspicious, and I love that Sabaoth is suppressing, like using the Force to suppress Luke and keep him tired and keep him, irritated in a way so that he can try to influence him more. I thought that interplay was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny. I'll talk about it more later. But the Luke versus Sabaoth in the Jedi philosophy battle.
Yeah.
That whole thing is interesting because again, this is really only the third person that Luke has ever gotten to actually discuss the Force with.
Yeah.
I guess fourth, because obviously he talks about it with Ben and Yoda, and he has a couple conversations with Vader in the original trilogy. But then this is another person, and like you said, he's going, doesn't really sound like what Ben and Yoda were talking about. You're talking a lot about control.
Yeah.
But I thought it was really interesting. Sabaoth says how the general public hated the Jedi, that Palpatine couldn't have gotten rid of him by himself. I just think that is fascinating, that of course ultimately that's the way the prequels went. I don't think George took that from this novel, but just that, like, great minds think alike, the storytellers knowing the way you do, for lack of a better term, a genocide or an extinction is you turn the public against a group of people.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. And other just little fun thing to say about Sabaoth, absolutely love the moment of Sabaoth kicking it in bed and force pulling his robes to him. I was like, dude knows how to chill. He knows how to chill. That is the type of Jedi that we would all be. Back to you.
My next one is Mara coming to save Luke, and Sabaoth, and that same interaction, very similar, but where he's like, oh no, I'm gonna crash your ship, and she makes it out, and just her like forethought to be like, oh, I'm gonna bring a Isilamari with me, and just the use of the Isilamari to like wake Luke out of his like stupor, I thought it was really fun. I do not like that they just like ditch the Isilamari at the end. I'm like, wow, we'll leave that on the end, into the dislikes. But yeah, no, I thought that was cool, and taking and the whole way there, Mara dealing with Emperor Palpatine's like last message in her head to kill Luke, and then her using the Isilamari as well to like help that also be suppressed. I thought was pretty cool.
100%.
Yeah.
I'll talk about that moment too. And in that sequence, Luke deflects lightning with his lightsaber. And I think that's the first time that ever happened in any Star Wars content of any type. That might not be right, but I think it is. The only other place that could have happened would have been in Star Wars comics at around the same time. I don't remember if that happens in Dark Empire. And maybe it was lore in the RPG, but I think this is the first time that ever happened. So it wasn't Obi-Wan Kenobi in Star Wars Episode 2. Pretty sure it was Luke Skywalker in Dark Force Rising 10 years before that movie came out.
Yeah.
Wild. But, yeah, so, and then, well, no, I'm going to go back to you. Because that was my next one.
Just a little lore dump.
Yeah.
The fact that Vader lost his hand because of his failure at Yavin. That the Emperor took his hand. Which I was like, that's really cool. That, you know, when we see him in Episode 3, they could still put that into canon, because in Episode 3, he has no hands. Never mind.
Yeah, he's got no hands left. Yeah.
So he couldn't have taken it. But I really liked the original, like, you know, explanation for why he had a robot hand. Was like, oh yeah, no, he failed at Yavin, and then Emperor took his hand. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, kind of leave the door open that the reason he is more machine than man is that the Emperor has been punishing him for all of his failures, you know. But jumping back in the novel a little bit, honestly, the thing that I probably remember more than anything about this entire trilogy that just captivated my imagination as a kid, Luke mediating a dispute in the cantina. Mm-hmm. That he walks in, has a lightsaber on his hip, and someone's just like, "You're a Jedi, fix this. We're having this problem." Just that they are respected and that they're known. The people that know of them know of Jedi as these like mythical kind of knowledge bearers that just have authority because they're tapped into the Force. What's weird about that, and I'm pretty sure this is from the RPG, the alien that brings Luke into this mediation is an alien, the species called a Barabal. And in the RPG, at some point, either before this or after this, I don't remember, they just kind of said that entire species reveres Jedi. All of them. And they have this very strange, all-consuming respect. And it's like, why couldn't it just be this one dude, like, really looked up to Jedi? Why does it need to be all... Anyway.
Yeah.
1990s fantasy storytelling. But back to you.
I really liked Senator Bel Iblis, and to see somebody that Han looks up to.
Yeah.
You know, and it's this, if you don't know, it is this Corellian senator who was supposed to be dead, but has been slowly fighting the Empire as another rebel group this entire time. And just like, it's somebody that Han knew in his youth, and he's been like checking in on him ever since, and just this like, oh, it's cool to see Han have somebody to look up to, you know?
Yeah.
But Bel Iblis, which I think is kind of the genesis for Luthen in Andor, but maybe not.
I think it's more the Saw Gerrera type, because the biggest thing with Bel Iblis is that he does not trust Mon Mothma. That's why he was not part of the Rebel Alliance from the beginning. Yeah. They say in this book that the original treaty that began the Rebel Alliance in the old expanded universe was the Corellian Treaty. And it was called that because he was one of the three original, like, signers. Right. It was Bel Iblis, Mon Mothma, and Bail Organa. But then he became distrustful of Mon Mothma. And so, I mean, sure, yeah, maybe Luthen as well, but the biggest thing being that I think the biggest reason he hasn't shown up in canon is because Saw Gerrera kind of has the canon archetype of the other rebel that Mon Mothma doesn't get along with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I would like to see this character in canon. I think he's cool, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because I think we've kind of passed most of our Rebel Alliance storytelling. You know?
I agree.
But a similar thing to what you said, I loved Leia hiding on the Nogri planet. There's a little bit of it that got a little repetitive for me. She had to go to 3 different council meetings to get them on her side, and I was like, all right. But just the idea that shortly after she arrives, Thrawn appears, and he's just like a doorway away from discovering Leia. It's just, there's so much tension. When Zahn chooses to ramp up the tension, it's there. It's immediately there, and it's so accessible. It's so good. It reminded me of in the last novel when Thrawn shows up at Talon Karrde's base, and Luke is again like a building away, right? So close to getting caught. Just good stuff. Back to you.
I like the whole sequence of Luke and Mara infiltrating the starship to save Talon Card. It's great. Specifically, I really love Luke being like, I think I can mind trick 4 pilots to just continue chilling, and I can go in there and take their outfits. And so he just like comes in and he's like, you guys, I'm supposed to be here in the Force, you know? And they're like, they look at him, they're like, yeah, that guy's supposed to be here. And they like continue playing games or reading a book or whatever they're doing. And then he just walks out and he's like, oh man. And then I really love the callback. It's a reverse trash compactor, you know, like they have to go into the trash chute to get up to the detention level rather than the other way around. That whole sequence is just super fun. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, that same sequence, just every now and then, it's okay to do the biggest hits of Star Wars. We're gonna infiltrate an Imperial hideout to save a friend. Yeah. Right? There's something about it that really, really works. I loved, this is a weird thing to love, but I like villain Thrawn. I've said it before. I honestly like him better when he's just a villain. Because while he's very likable and that he's so intelligent and he's so emotionally just calm, he casually mentions in a conversation with Pelion where they're talking about some other alien race that Thrawn came into contact with, and he's like, well, how'd you deal with them? He's like, oh, I killed him. Yeah, unfortunately, I had to kill them all. Yeah, casually mentioning genocide because he's a villain. But I'll talk about that more later.
Yeah. Well, on that note as well, I love that he finds another way to the Katana fleet besides Talon Card, and just the whole race to the Katana fleet. That whole last few chapters and is perfect. It's like the perfect portion of this book where everyone's trying to get there. Your villain has found a way, your heroes have found a way, you know, and they just are all going after the same thing.
Yeah. 100%. Speaking of going full villains, we didn't really talk about him outside of a dislike in our review of Heir to the Empire, but the Bothan oppositional political villain within the New Republic, Borsk Phalia, finally goes full villain at the end of this novel. Is just ready to sacrifice the entire crew of New Republic warriors for his goals or whatever, and just finally it's like, okay, great, so we are now past this awkward place to exist in of political villainy, where it's just kind of words. Now it's like, great, cool, we can get past this.
Yeah.
Really liked that.
Well, and piggybacking off of that, I love how they reveal that he's a villain, where Leia just turns on the comms and then gets him to say what his plans are, and the entire crew that are retreating hear it, and they go, oh, no, we're not listening to this guy. Let's go back, you know? And
100%.
at the same time, Thrawn's looking at it like, what are they doing? But
100%. My last big like, or at least big like worth mentioning that I can summon in this moment, just the reveal of clones at the very, very end of the novel. That Han's like, just Luke, get over here. And he's, for whatever reason, taking off helmets of stormtroopers, and they all got the same face. Yeah. That's how Thrawn's been getting troops so quickly. They've been making clones real quick. I hope that at some point, this is more of a discussion thing, but I hope that canon moves beyond the Kaminoan cloners. It's been this weird thing that since Star Wars Episode 2, really the only cloning that's been mentioned outside of Dr. Silo in the first Vader comic run, the only clones that have been mentioned have been Kaminoan clones. Yeah. And it's why, Dexter Jetster doesn't call them, well, they're the only cloners in the galaxy. He says to Obi-Wan, they're cloners. Yeah. Damn good ones, too. So there could be others. And I love the idea of there being this ancient, not super trustworthy technology, right? Or always efficient technology. But there is clone technology that can make clones really, really quick. Yeah. Let's get... They're not, the quality isn't great, but it can happen.
Yeah, let's get cloners. They're damn bad ones, too.
Nice. Back to you, dude.
My last big one was also clones. I loved the reveal.
Cool.
I literally wrote, like, in all caps in my notes, clones! Which is so silly because, like, of course it's clones, but it was... I imagine when this book came out, it was even more so like, oh my god, clones, the Clone Wars, the thing that Obi-Wan mentioned. Like, you know, I think it was probably a bigger reveal than it is for reading it for the first time now. But
100%. Outside of, I'm pretty sure there's some clone mentions, or might even be some clone stories in the original Marvel Comics run that, of course, started when the first movie came out. But they're never, like, huge, big stories. And that might not even be right. They might not be there. I think I might be mixing things. But definitely, this is the first time that Luke, Han, and Leia, in a major way, are going up against the clones that we first heard about in the first Star Wars movie.
yeah.
It's okay. Moving into respectful dislikes and struggles, Zach and I love Star Wars, and we want to love all Star Wars, and we seek to love all Star Wars, but there might be things that we didn't necessarily like, and we want to talk about and try and figure out why we didn't like it. So, Zach, first big dislike or struggle for Dark Force Rising.
My biggest struggle with this book is the fact that Vader is the, like, savior of the Nogri people. It doesn't gel with the character for me. Like, it doesn't... Like, Vader is not a kind or benevolent being. He does not... Like, even when we see, like, in modern canon, when we see him, like, work with the Inquisitors, he's never kind. He's never taking care of, like... And I get that it's, like, a transactional, like, we'll give you food and then you give us these awesome warriors. But at the same time, and I guess that's what they respect, is that he's a great warrior. But it's just weird to me to have Vader be the savior. Like, I could see the Emperor being, like... Because he's a manipulator, right? Like... I could see him being their person, but for some reason it doesn't gel with me. Maybe you can help me with it, but it doesn't gel with what I think of as the character.
And we haven't talked about it yet, but if you haven't read this book, basically what you find out is that there was a crash on this homeworld of the Nogri that ended up being back in the Clone Wars, but Vader kind of appeared, discovered this planet, and basically made sure the planet stayed poisoned by that crash, but more or less took care of the Nogri, quote unquote, so that they would fight the Empire. I don't know that he ever actually did anything kind. It was just probably that he was the poster boy supplying food and supplies.
Okay.
So that then he could have essentially a race of master assassins at his beck and call. So, like, that sounds like thinking of Anakin Skywalker, right?
I guess.
But yeah, he's not showing up and, holding babies and stuff. Yeah. But he'll appear and just kind of, like, bring them food and water and then demand warriors as tribute, but as long as the Empire will, protect them.
Yeah.
But then they probably never even saw him again. He was probably the reason he was so revered is he was this mythological figure that they just saw from time to time.
Yeah.
Right? Like, oh, Lord Vader, he's the best.
The only thing that and I guess that kind of gels with that one comic of the Tusken Raiders that Vader comes in to, like, slaughter them all every year, and they build an effigy and burn, a person at the stake to, like, try and, like, so that he won't, as a sacrifice.
That he's this, like, vengeful god that comes from the sky and kills all their people with a sword of flame. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that, you know what I'm saying? From their perspective, that's what he is, right?
Yeah.
But okay. Does that help?
Yeah, it does. What is your biggest dislike? Maybe I can help you.
The first one, this is oddly specific, but I've always thought it was weird since the first time I read these books when I was a kid. The description of Borsk Phalia's shifting fur and how that shows his emotions. I just think it's weird. Timothy Zahn is such a creative writer. But he's so creative that sometimes his ideas to me are just so more strange than interesting. Like, Borsk Phalia is in all these political scenes, and it's not like shifting eyebrows or tone of his voice that people are able to interpret his emotions. It's the way his fur moves and shifts color. And it's like, what? And this is silly. And again, I don't know if that came from the RPG. Entirely possible, right? But Bothans are, I think, the only major alien mentioned on screen that we have yet to see in canon.
Yeah.
Right? They are mentioned in Return of the Jedi. Many Bothans died to bring us this information, right? And then we have yet to even see them or hear mention of them at all in almost 11 years of a modern continuity. And I think one of the biggest reasons for that is the description of their shifting fur and how that shows emotions, because I don't know how on earth you would show that. I just don't know how you could translate that into motion and it not be kind of the campy version of Doctor Who. You know what I mean? Not the Doctor Who that's like really emotional and will bring you to tears. The Doctor Who that it's like, yeah, that guy has a pie for a face. You know what I mean? And just, that's something that I've just always thought was more weird than interesting.
That's interesting because that's not how I interpreted it.
Okay.
So the way I interpreted it was like a cat. You know, where
Okay.
like a cat when it's uneasy, its fur is up. And that, you know, like, and kind of spiky, and then when it calms down, it shifts down, you know, and like, and like ears moving and like twitches and all that. That's the way I kind of took it. And I think if you're gonna do it in canon, that's the way that you probably have to, you know, make it very animal, you know, and like that the fur kind of raises or lowers based on the emotion.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure there's ways to do it, but like even just that description, like I'm trying to imagine a very serious, dramatic moment, and they look over at the Bothan and all of his hair is standing on end. I don't know, you know what I mean? Like that would be hilarious, right? Like it wouldn't be. So like there's of course ways to do it. All good ideas can be good. All ideas can be good ideas in the hands of good storytellers. Mm-hmm. But that would be damn difficult to not make hokey and campy, in my opinion. You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
So. But back to you.
Yeah. It was a dislike with the first movie. It's a first book. Dislike with the second book. Sabayoth is just so annoying sometimes. And I know that he's a mad clone, and I know that they finally Luke finally figures out that he's a mad clone, in this, which is cool reveal. But man, is he just annoying. Which is the point. Like the point is that he's supposed to be annoying, but. Zahn does too good of a job sometimes.
Well, and we did talk about it in the first novel, and I said the same thing, first novel review, and I said the same thing there. To me, when your villain is incompetent, they are a less interesting villain. Like, exponentially so.
And
right?
He's more competent in this book. He's just annoying.
It's my next dislike, that while I talked about I liked the idea of Luke having Jedi philosophy debates, there is no goal they are moving towards. There's no further motion. And it's not Luke makes a good point, Sabayoth makes a good point. It's Luke makes a good point, Sabayoth says something that it's like, what the f*** are you talking about? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, what? And you just kind of are left confused. It's like, can we move past this scatterbrained goofball? Because it's one thing if your villain has madness in the way that they are completely unpredictable and they'll just waste a dude. Mm-hmm. For no reason. It's another thing when it's just like, that's so close to making sense. Mm-hmm. So that Luke is respectful and kicks it with him for that long, I was kind of like, Luke, you're a good man. I wouldn't last 5 minutes. I'd be like, never mind. This guy's weird. I'm out. I'm going to go help my friends fight the Empire and just let this crazy man be a crazy man. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
So back to you.
For me, it as a book 2... Yes, a lot happens, but it takes a long time for things to happen. That is my biggest, I think, dislike in that. It's just like, you know, I want a little bit more movement. And maybe it's because I don't read as many books all the time that I'm just not used to that kind of movement. But that is my thoughts on the movement of this book.
Yeah, or the lack thereof at times.
Yeah.
Zahn is an amazing author, and it's worth, again, this is a 30-year-old book.
Yeah.
Things are paced totally differently now. But it's perfectly valid to think that it takes a while for things to happen. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, and again, personal taste being personal taste, if a story doesn't have forward momentum, there's other things we can do with our time.
Yeah.
You know, life is short. It can get long sometimes. I'd rather it not feel long while I'm reading something that I want to have fun reading. I'll just move on and read something else.
Yeah.
But it was never that bad, but it does take a while to get places. Mm-hmm. My biggest dislike is going to, make you laugh, I think. But Lando Calrissian, the master investigator, a.k.a. mastermind of completely circumstantial, nonsensical evidence. Like, that Niles Ferrier is the only one in the galaxy that smokes that particular cigar is ridiculous. That's that has the same energy. Well, I'll get to and the other one, that the way they find the Dark Force, the way they find the Katana fleet, is Lando knows it's the only fleet in existence that colors its interiors blue gold. That's the exact same energy as the Imperial Security Bureau putting together that Cassian Andor, that they found him a second time because he shaved. This is a galaxy of literally countless beings, countless stars and planets, and you know that there's one fleet in all of existence that has interiors blue gold, and one ship thief that smokes that cigar. That just doesn't make any sense at all to me. That's insane.
I can help you with these. So
Okay.
the blue gold to me was like, okay, cool. This style of ship, like we're seeing, like if you got into like, if you went on to like a battleship, right, and you were like, oh wait, this is this old, right? Like, oh, I know this is from World War II. Oh, they have the markings of blue and gold. Oh, that was only one battalion in that time period for that thing.
But he doesn't say that. He says there is one. He literally says there is one fleet that colored its interiors this color. One. And that's silly. Because it's like, no, man, all you needed was someone to go, I'm going to paint this blue gold. This one's my ship. Like, that's a crazy jump. And Niles Ferrier is a scummy starship thief. He's not a master of tobacco.
Well, I will
right?
say, so when I was younger, the first time I ever went hunting, we went with this guy, and there was no deer out, so he just started smoking cigars in a deer blind, which is about, as big as two chairs can sit next to each other.
Oh, you're
This
brutal.
one was 3. And so I literally was out the window, like, because he was smoking backwoods, which are the worst smelling, like, cigar ever. So if I was in a situation where I was like, oh, I'm going to a place where hunters go, and I smelt that cigar, I'd be like, that might be that guy. So I think it's more of a tip-off of like, oh, he might be here. I remember we did this one job, and he smoked that one awful smell, and I'm in a place where ship thieves might be. I bet that's him,
But unfortunately, even then, it's not that. It's, Luke, what is that smell on you right now? There's only one person. We gotta go now. And they run into the hangar. And it's like, that's crazy.
Maybe he makes his
That's
own
crazy.
tobacco. Maybe he makes his own, like, little mix,
But even then, countless stars and planets and countless beings. I don't get that. That's wild. That is a huge jump to me. Sorry. Because if it was what you're saying, I'd be like, all right. You'd be like, wait a minute. Describe to me everybody that was in the hangar right now. Crap. And then they run.
Yeah.
Right? Or if they had already smelled that specific smell in this novel and they know he's on their tail and they smell it again, uh-oh.
Yeah.
I could, but
Well, he runs
there's
into
only
him
one-
earlier, doesn't he? Or is that the first time?
not in this book.
Okay.
The first time, it's that Luke has just taken a walk through a crowded as heck New Republic hangar, comes to see Lando in his hospital room, and Lando's like, that smell, there's only one, we gotta go, we gotta get back to the hangar. And it's like, what? It doesn't make any sense to me.
That's funny.
So, anyway, my last dislike/struggle I'd already talked about. It was a pacing thing. It was that Leia needed to have 3 different no agree council meetings.
Yeah.
Right? When I feel like you could have gotten it done in one and moved on to something else. But it just got kind of repetitive to me.
Yeah.
But any other dislikes or struggles?
My last one is that they just like kind of abandon the Isilamari when they're going against Thrawn. Like they leave it with Sabaoth, and it's like, why would you leave that tool there? And you
Yeah.
know that he could use it.
Yeah.
Also, that's a little animal. Like that Luke wouldn't just be like, "Peace out, little lizard dude,"
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Them's
Right
our
on.
respectful dislikes. We do like the book. We do. We promise.
Yeah. But we're about honesty here.
Yeah.
You know. But moving into discussion questions or discussion points. First one I had was I kind of mentioned it earlier that like as mentioned in this novel, the Clone Wars happened 45 years ago, which is about at this point in the timeline, which is 20 years more than they actually happened ago. Because again, at this time, nobody knew. So they just said something. The EU ran with that timeline up until the prequels came out. And everybody went, what? So the EU was not a cohesive canon. But as made by George Lucas, not Disney. But yeah, I remember being a kid and reading this book and going, wait, what? Because I think the first time I read it, the prequels had already come out. Or were coming out. And I was like, wait, what? This doesn't add up. You know.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Anyway.
It also makes Vader a lot older.
Which I think is kind of what everybody assumed, because Vader doesn't look 40s. He looks 60s.
Yeah.
Same with Obi-Wan Kenobi. He does not look 40s. He looks 60s. So I think George kind of figured, or everybody kind of assumed, that therefore, when you do math, Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher would have been born when Vader was like 45.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not knocking the prequels at all. The story that I like the story that we have now, but when you look at the actors in the original trilogy, it looks more like this timeline.
But even when you look at the Clone Wars like cartoon series, you're like, how did this all happen in like 4 years? You know, like
we've talked about
like,
that.
You know, I think the timeline is broken even by canon. You know, like Clone Wars had to have been longer. It had to have been longer.
Yes.
For all of these major battles and all that, had to have been longer. But
yeah, now not 20 years.
Not 20
this
years,
novel is suggesting, right?
maybe like
but I've
10,
always absolutely headcanoned that it was like 10 years and not 3, because when you look at Ahsoka in the Clone Wars movie and then Ahsoka in the Siege of Mandalore, that is not someone that has aged 3 years. She's aged 3 years in the same way that the Stranger Things kids have supposedly only aged 4 years between season 1 and season 5. They all look like they're mid-20s, and we're supposed to buy that they're
full-on
like
adults.
16.
In that new trailer, I was like,
it's like,
oh.
like, it just, let time pass between your stories. But all that to say, and I will say just on this, I think Star Wars works best when the timeline is not specific.
Yeah.
I see people get mad. Star Wars needs to be specific. No, it doesn't. It needs to leave room for new stories. The timeline doesn't matter in this franchise. The emotional through line matters. That's what these stories are. These are pulpy, philosophical adventures.
Yeah.
Right? What matters is where the character is at that point in their lives, not how many hours have passed since the last story. But there's my soapbox.
Yeah.
So what's your next discussion point or question?
Yeah. Well, we're going to get into what we think they'll use in the movies. But do you think that... Well, I haven't read the next book and you have. So a lot of this is like me just like, I wonder what's going to happen.
Sure.
But do you think a Noghri people is... This is kind of jumping to what they might use, but do you think it's possible in canon? A whole race of Noghri? I know we've gotten one.
Absolutely.
But do you think it's possible and probable?
Probable, I'm going to say no. Possible, absolutely. I think I talked about last time that I think Thrawn's Noghri in canon are going to be zombie Night Sisters.
Yeah.
Or just Night Sister minions. And I think that's how they're going to do away with that. Mostly because I think that the Noghri are difficult to accomplish on screen for different reasons than the Bothans.
Yeah.
Just that it's hard to have, the way they're described in this novel, and the one previously, like, insanely effective cat assassins.
Yeah.
Right? That move so quickly you can't even see them until they're already ripping your throat out. You know? I guess trigger warning for violence. But, that's difficult to accomplish on screen as opposed to zombie Night Sisters. Pretty easy to accomplish on screen.
Yeah.
We have a lot of ways to accomplish zombies. I think you could absolutely do it. I don't know that it's probable at this point.
Yeah.
But I would love to see it. Random Random Star Wars lore drop. One of my favorite missions in the Jedi Academy video game. You go to Nogri.
Cool.
To Hanogar. And you have to fight past a bunch of Nogri to take out this Imperial Remnant thing. And it's really, really fun. And they have their, like, gas bombs and the, like, Stokely web shooting sticks and everything. And I'm just like...
That's cool.
It's cool when Star Wars references itself.
Yeah.
But speaking of Hanogar and Nogri, this isn't a question. This is kind of a discussion point. The way that it describes how their planet was poisoned reminds me very much of what happens to Kenari, Andor's home planet.
Yeah.
On Andor, that a ship crashes and poisons the planet.
Yeah.
Right. When I saw that, I was like, oh, they're doing the Thrawn trilogy thing, but these aren't Nogri.
Yeah.
Cool.
Andor, the Nogri. That would be...
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Hey. Yeah, you couldn't.
You couldn't, but...
Yeah. Well, Gilroy would be like, aliens? Nah! Humans.
Yeah. So my discussion question next is, maybe you can help me with this. How did Thrawn get there so much earlier that he was able to move all of the ships besides, like, 10 without the main flagship? Like, how did that work?
I don't even know. And that's something that I forgot about, but that is something in this novel that I was like, huh? Well, the answer is light speed in Star Wars moves at the speed of narrative.
Yeah.
People will tell you there's a consistent system, and they are incorrect. Or they're absolutely incorrect. There isn't, and there never has been. Mm-hmm. Again, the George Lucas quote, there's fire in space in my universe when I want it. Star Wars is space fantasy. Yeah. He got there without the main flagship because it made for a more interesting story.
True. Yeah.
You know, sorry to be a punk about it, but unfortunately there is no concrete answer. Because this ain't Dune, dog. I guess I didn't really have any discussion questions because my last kind of point is just in general. I had forgotten that, like, I do love this. I do love this story. But I think it kind of points to the EU had a problem that began here. There's only two. Well, I guess that's not true. There's a couple of interesting characters introduced in this novel that are not the original three, Han, Luke, and Leia. But the EU, throughout all of its run, even up until 2014 when it went away, never moved beyond Han, Luke, and Leia.
Yeah.
Yes, he introduced Jason and Jaina, Solo, and Anakin Skywalker, but spoilers for many-year-old novels, Jason and Anakin got killed. And then it was just Jaina around.
Yeah.
The EU never moved past the big three. And it's just, that is one thing that I really do like about canon. While I could love some more big three adventures, in a way I get why we haven't.
Yeah.
Because there are probably a couple hundred novels of their adventures that are out there and can be canon mostly if you kind of just squint as you read them. So... You know, I love that we have a lot of other new, interesting Star Wars characters you can tell stories with in this era and beyond. But, you know, Anyway. So I guess that didn't really go anywhere. I kind of destroyed my own argument. But what else do you have for points or discussion questions?
Nah, that's it for me. So I think we should move into what we think they'll use from
What do
this
we
novel.
think they'll farm for Ahsoka Season 2 and The Mandalorian and Grogu and this general Mandoverse New Republic era? What I think is going to show up at some point, just because I think it is so mythological and so just low-hanging fruit. One of our Jedi characters walks into a bar, and someone walks up to them respecting them because they're a Jedi and asks them to mediate an argument.
Yeah.
That's basic genre pulp storytelling. If that doesn't show up, I'll be baffled.
Well,
honestly, that's going to be somewhere.
Yeah. It kind of just happened in the Afra book, too. There's something similar where... Luke tries to do, like, a mediation thing, so... Yeah. I think that they might use the Dark Force.
Really?
I think they might. Because Thrawn has nothing besides his one ship to take on. I mean, yes, there's the remnants that we've seen from Mando being like, oh yeah, like, you know, we have that like Dark Council that eventually becomes the First Order. So you know that they're out there, but I think they're so small at this point that you gotta have something technologically based for him to be a big threat that he is, because he hasn't been amassing people this whole time. He's just one ship of zombies. So I think we might get some slave unit Dark Force like type thing.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about it, but the whole thing, it was, I forgot it was a like, but the Katana fleet, aka the Dark Force, was a fleet of Old Republic ships that I think was lost during the Clone Wars, they said, or the EU version of the Clone Wars, for a really interesting reason. They were ships that were minimal crew, because they could run slaved together. All of their hard drives and hyperdrives and whatever were linked. Yeah. And the crew got infected with a virus that drove them nuts, and somebody hit a random hyperjump that sent them off somewhere in the galaxy. And Talon Card found it by accident a long time ago, and has been sitting on that information until the right time to sell it to somebody, which I thought was really cool. Yeah. So I forgot to mention that in my likes. That's cool. The biggest reason that I think we're not going to see that is very recently in Star Wars canon storytelling, we have done a mythical lost fleet that's all their drives are slaved together, and it was the Final Order fleet at Exegol in Star Wars Episode 9.
True.
I agree that we should see something of Thrawn putting forces together, but it'll be difficult to not seem really repetitive if it's Thrawn finding a lost fleet. I just think he's going to call up the Shadow Council, and each of them are going to show up with a battleship and ready to go troops. And it'll be Hera leading a fleet versus Thrawn leading a fleet. And we'll get our naval tactical thing, and it'll be Ezra flying around in the Ghost or something.
Yeah.
And then also we'll have a ground battle, probably with him fighting Enoch, because you got to have a heavy for him to go up against. Enoch is the gold-faced night trooper captain.
Yeah.
That they introduced in Ahsoka Season 1. But yeah. So, sorry to actually your thing, because I thought about that. I think that I wish that the Final Order fleet was closer in story to the Dark Force, because I think it would have worked a little better than just
unless you
there's
use
an
the
entire
Dark
fleet
Force
of Star Destroyers
as a blueprint for that final fleet. You know, like one of the Shadow Council gets away with that last piece of technology, you know.
That could be cool.
Yeah.
I don't hate that.
Or both.
Or both. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there we go.
What about you?
So we did it.
Oh, I have another one.
That was my last one. Go ahead. My bad. Hit it.
I think it's just a sequence that if they don't use it in the Ahsoka film, they got to use it somewhere else. But the sequence of them on the Katana fleet, and you know, stormtroopers coming after them, and they go down a hallway, and there's like an ATST like stuck in there, and they're like, oh yeah, no, I'm just gonna get in there and do. I thought that was such a cool sequence. That if they don't use it in Ahsoka, that's fine, but somebody's got to steal that sequence, because that's great.
I forgot about that. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just, hey, man, let Star Wars be Star Wars.
Yeah.
Let it be fun and pulpy and silly and a good time. And I think that's what we're going to get out of Mando and Grogu and Starfighter.
Yeah.
But there we go. We have reviewed 2 out of 3 parts of the Thrawn trilogy, or Tron trilogy, depending on where you're at, because it's a thrilling trilogy. But, Zach, closing thoughts on Dark Force Rising.
Yeah, I'm really, really excited for the finale of this book, especially with all the hype that it has been given over the years. Again, I've never read these, so I'm excited for it. We have both held off on reading the next one, so we didn't merge our thoughts on 2 books, but I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm going to dive into the audiobook potentially later today.
Yeah.
I'm about to head over to the gym and lift some weights. And while I'm there, I might listen to The Last Command. And we'll see how quickly I'm able to read it. But, yeah, I mean, my closing thoughts, kind of stuff we've already said. This one drags for me in a way Heir to the Empire did as well, but not quite to this degree. I said at the end of our Heir to the Empire review that the way the next book opens is awesome. I think I had confused that opening with the opening of The Last Command.
I think
the
you did
last
too,
book of
because
this
this one
trilogy.
opened and I was like, awesome.
Yeah, this one
Matt.
opened and I was like, this is not. This is kind of run of the mill. But yeah, it dragged a little bit. This is this was Discussions, the novel, Discussions and Motivations, and really my favorite parts were the conversations between Mara Jade and Thrawn.
Yeah.
In many ways, and I didn't think I had those in my likes because I forgot about them because I read this like a month ago, and then different life things have been pushing it off for us talking about it. But let's grind through The Last Command as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And we got a lot of stuff coming up on the podcast, but one last thing to talk about. Well, no, Zach, I'll hand it over to you. Let them know how they can get involved with what they just watched or listened to.
Yeah. If you would like to get involved, the best way is to email us, forceofothersradio@gmail.com. Like and subscribe if you're on YouTube. Hit the notification bell. If you're not, if you're listening on an audio platform, thank you very much. And leave us a 5-star review and comments there as well. And our social medias. Get in touch with us. We're Force of Others or Force of Others Podcast at most places, and we will interact with you. Our mission statement is to get your perspective and be a positive place for you to do that. And we are going to stick to that. We got a lot of stuff coming up next week. I think we're going to do finally our Canon Comics Corner. We're going to catch up on Legacy of Vader and the Jedi Knights books, and we're going to discuss all that. It will not be as specific, I think, as this episode was, but will be comprehensive, which will be nice.
Yeah.
And if you're listening, we recorded this the day after Life Day, so happy Life Day,
There you
Star
go.
Wars fans. We hope you guys have a great Life Day. Celebrate with the people that you like and the people that you love. And
Right on.
Anything else from you, Matt?
Just last thing I forgot to talk about now Star Wars found me this week is that it didn't find me so much as I bought some Star Wars, but I got the old Darth Vader double feature.
Cool.
That's around right now.
Yeah.
I got the new canon novel Master of Evil by Adam Christopher, and I got the 20th anniversary annotated edition of the Revenge of the Sith novel.
Cool.
Longtime fans of the show know that I have some spicy opinions on the Revenge of the Sith film. I do still love it, but I do have some spicy opinions. But that novel is literature. If we have time next week, I might read an excerpt.
Cool.
Just like it, I cannot oversell that novel. But I will say, I mean, this annotated edition is gorgeous. There's concept art on the inside cover.
Cool.
Anakin and Padme. Just hard recommend. I mean, and then just on the inside, this is what it feels like to be Anakin Skywalker forever.
Nice.
It is a excellent piece of Star Wars storytelling. Cool. But I'm also going to put a pin in those because we got to listen to The Last Command, read for you as always by Mark Thompson.
The GOAT.
And the GOAT of Star Wars
Audio. Audiobooks.
And at some point, we will have Jason Christman on the show. Jason Christman, as the easiest way to find him is to spell his name that way, because that's how it's spelled. But I've got big plans for the back half of the year. We have set our date to record our commentary track for The Force Awakens. It'll be Lance Christopher Candler back on the show, talking about it as he and I watched it together 10 years ago. This next month. There was no gray in my beard in 2015. That's not the way now. Not the way it is now. And we're going to have a Force of Others holiday special.
Woohoo.
All of that is approaching as 2025 comes to an end. But in the meantime, remember, we are not the Force of Others. You are. And remember, the Force of Others will be with you.
Always. The Force of Others, a Star Wars podcast.
I thought you were just going to fade out on toot.